Hey friends, this is Ian Khan here at HIMSS 25, and we have the absolute cream of the cream, providers, vendors, incumbents, hospital systems, everybody here from the healthcare industry. Jim, welcome to the show. And
Thank you.
Let's start with what you guys do and what brings you to HIMSS.
Okay. We are a leader in the active data archiving space. What we do is we take data from any legacy system, we can pull it out, put it into our data lake, and then we can create secondary use cases. So if you think about our why, Simon Sinek's why, it's to liberate data for secondary use. So what we're trying to do is help providers understand the data they have and feed into workflows and use cases that they need on an everyday basis.
So, let's talk about data for a minute. Everybody's talking about data. We're living in the era of AI. Of course, it needs data, but there's no doubt that data is kind of the fundamental fuel of the big transformation that's going to take place, that has been taking place, that will take place in healthcare and across industries. Tell us how you guys see data. What is happening with data? I hear it's siloed. I hear data is sitting in healthcare, providers and hospitals, and it's just a mess. Where are we with data right now, generally, as a big, broad industry?
Generally, that's a great characterization of where the data is. There's a growing appreciation for data as an asset. So that is one of the best trends that's taken place. We have competitors that put data in PDFs and just put it in cold storage. And we've always had a belief that leave the data discrete, make it available. You don't know what new AI, new language model is going to be around the corner.
Yeah.
New data insights. And we believe that there's multiple pillars of AI that are from practical to futuristic, but you've got to start with the data, as you said, the fuel. It's a great visual for thinking about it. And many hospitals have myriad older computer systems, and they either leave them in read-only mode or they're in maintenance mode, and they're not connected. So somehow they need to get the data out, liberate it, get it out so you can make it available. Our primary customers are hospitals. The reasons we're here is this is a great show for hospitals. Technology teams, the office of the CIO is a primary constituent of ours, and this is a great show to come to.
Yeah. So here's the big question. You talk with CIOs, CTOs, CMOs, like the entire C-suite is working with you. Is everybody looking at data with a sense of urgency or not? And if they're not, why not? Right? Like, aren't you frustrated sometimes as a provider that, hey, C-suite of a hospital system, you need to take data more seriously because of all these reasons that are there? Where is the CTO, CIO, CSO of a typical healthcare institution?
Boy, there's a continuum from a full appreciation to what you just said, to, in some cases, they've got a to-do. The CFO wants them to sunset some systems to save some money. What we're finding is that hospital CIOs are much more worried about compliance. Are they compliant with information blocking rules? What is the security risk? Some of these large software footprints increases the security risk. In cases where they've stopped paying for annual maintenance, they don't have the latest software patches. They don't have security patches. So more and more, that's where we're excited. Frustration could have been, but we still have to evangelize some of these topics. The abilities are underappreciated. And also there's a side of the provider market. They're typically understaffed, they're under pressure, don't have enough time to get to everything. And they're so focused on the go-forward systems they're working on, they leave the systems behind. So we've also gotten into a space called application rationalization, which helps codify and prioritize where do you spend your time.
So one of the biggest problems in any industry generally is the reactive mode. When the hackers knock at your door and your systems go down and all your data gets stolen, right? And they're asking for whatever they're asking. That's when all hands are on deck. Everybody's like, yep, we're going to fix this and we're going to do that and this. We're going to invest so much money in, fixing the system. And that reactive approach, unfortunately, I believe is not going to work for too long, because there are bigger hacks happening. There are bigger risks involved now. This is not even 5 years ago or 10 years. 20 years ago, forget it.
Right.
This is not even the situation 5 years ago, because there's much more risk at hand. How does industry take this seriously, and what do you guys do to tell them to take this seriously?
It's a great question. So understanding risk, that's where techniques like application rationalization help providers actually understand what their risk is. What is their current exposure? What do they need to spend time on? Because we would rather roadmap with them, how do you spend your time? How do you spend your resources so we can smartly go after, lower your risk, immediately start impacting your risk. The risk of cyber attack obviously is on the rise. One of the interesting double-edged swords of AI is for many hospitals, AI is going to become a distraction to figure out which use cases are real, which things we spend their time on. So we are spending time trying to get the mind share to say, look, you have here and now problems. AI can help in some of those areas, but you've got to get that risk mitigated. I've talked with CIOs that have over 500 software applications, and they're in all various states of disarray, data all over the place. Then you add in M&A, or a hospital buys another hospital. Now they take on that technology footprint. Tremendous amount of need in the industry.
We're at HIMSS, there's an incredible amount of thought leadership going on, lots of content, lots of ideas. How much of it do you think people will take back and implement?
In terms of, I think there's, especially with the AI angle, there's a lot of experiments out there. There's a lot of announcements. So I think that a lot of the hospital providers will take back use cases to their team. Do they need to explore them? We've built a best practices around evaluating some of these technologies, so we hope that the providers will take the time to really take a thorough look at what's real. Don't go down a bunch of dead ends, which hopefully aren't those, but the provider's time is precious. So when we think about how do you map out where do you spend your time, your money, your effort, a lot of it starts with the data, because you're going to have clean, reliable data. It's going to be out of the old system, so it's in a place where the AI can even be useful. And we believe that the patient data, the patient records, even the patient financial services records that are in these hospitals needs to be brought forward, because there's tremendous insights that can be gleaned from what's there.
If you had 3 recommendations, given the state of AI, the advancements that are happening, the lack of adoption, that's a challenge. What are your 3 recommendations to industry generally? Of course, take data seriously and make sure you do all of those great things. But what can they do between now and the next, say, 12 months, right?
The 12 months is, I recommend people be conservative and be thoughtful in the steps that you take. There's a lot of flash of what AI can do. You could almost call this an AI conference. I think every vendor's got an AI announcement of one type or another. So I'm a skeptic by nature. So if I'm advising an average hospital CIO, it's be skeptical. Make sure there's case studies or there's a proven ROI, and make sure you've got involvement from your end user community. So if you're talking about clinical workflows, you've got to have buy-in from the CMIOs, whomever it is in your organization. You'll have to have partnerships to evaluate it. And then also understand what's behind it. What type of an AI? Is it real AI? Are they shipping that data out to another cloud? If we're talking about PHI, there's too many traps to not take this seriously. And you want to move quickly, but not too fast, because a mistake in these areas could have high consequences. We also believe there are going to be plenty of bad actors around the AI space as well.
Of course.
And so it's going to be twice as difficult to move projects forward.
Does any particular aspect of AI stand out for you? We're hearing agentic AI, we're talking generative AI, LLM, ML, like there's so much of terminology being thrown out on an average executive that it's hard to understand everything. And what stands out for you? What part of AI is interesting right now? Forget about how it pans out, but what are you finding very interesting?
Sure, I think for the average executive, understanding the business use case, regardless of how the vendor solves it, is really the most important piece. Because you may not need a large language model in some cases. You may, Gen AI is an area we're spending time on. Our primary focus areas are around workflow optimization, helping the staff members get to the priority issues faster. How do they discern what do they need to spend their time on, so that you can actually get more done with the staff that you have. There's a lot of pie in the sky, disease state management, things like that, but a lot of those things are much further down the road. So I come back to it's a bit of a boring word, but what's practical?
Yeah.
What can actually move the needle forward with the hospital system? That's where we see the actual excitement, because you can measure results, you can compare it against, you can benchmark against things.
Yeah.
Without those, I'd be hard pressed as an executive to want to spend much time or money on something.
Incredible. Thanks for spending this time with us here at HIMSS, and it's a pleasure to have Jim here with us, and MediQuant. Check them out and see what they do. Jim, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really
appreciate your time.
Thank you.